Can you play the... Good morning. When I first came to New Zealand in 1995, which is about 30 years ago, I noticed many things in New Zealand that is different from Taiwan. There are many of these things called the OP shop. These are shops that are run by churches. They sell secondhand stuff like clothing and furniture. It grabbed my attention because there's no such thing as OP shop in Taiwan. Normally you just buy new stuff and when it gets old, you throw it away. And some churches run free English classes. I still remember going to one of the free English classes in Howard Baptist Church. They were run by a few white elderly ladies, and after lessons, they give you some food and drinks. And these free English classes are very well known among the new immigrants. I wasn't a Christian back then, and I didn't think much of why do people do these things. I just thought that there are many good people in the church in New Zealand. Now I'm a Christian, I have a better understanding of the Bible. I think community service is not only an important part of the church function, I think it's an essential function of the church and for individual Christians. And I think many churches don't realize that and is missing out on that. So today I want to share with you a topic called Christian and community service. And through this message, I want to tell you what is church ministry. I want to convince you why it is important to have some sort of church ministry and what you can do at a personal level for community service. The church has 5 main functions: worship, fellowship, discipleship, mission, and ministry. So worship is about singing and praising God. Fellowship is about gathering together and share our life with each other. Discipleship is about the teaching and learning the Bible. Mission is about preaching the gospel. And ministry is about helping the poor and the needy. So why do some churches run free English classes and sell second-hand clothing and furniture? Because they want to help the new immigrants who can't speak English well, and they want to help the poor so they can afford basic living needs. Churches do much more than just selling second-hand goods and giving free English classes. Destiny Church has a prison ministry. City Impact Church has what's called Community Impact Days, where they gather the volunteers to do community services. They do gardening, cleaning, and delivering meals. And Eden Church sends Christmas boxes filled with food to poor people before Christmas. And Habitat for Humanity gathers volunteers to build houses for people. And not only do churches do charitable works locally, they also work overseas. Eden Church is involved in educating children in Sri Lanka and India. Some churches build houses for people in Pacific Islands like Fiji and Samoa. And missionaries went to China and Taiwan and they built schools and hospitals. And not only that, it goes into the schools. The World Visions run what's called a 40-hour famine. Has anyone done one of those 40-hour famines before? Yeah? Yeah. And St. Kentigern College, which is a Presbyterian school, they have food banks. They donate food to poor people and build tiny houses for their families. And New Zealand, as a Christian country, has a culture of being charitable. You'll often find these food donation stalls on the pedestrian walkways, and you will see these clothing bins for donating second-hand clothing. And in supermarkets, you'll find those donation boxes for donating food. And in shopping malls, you'll often find charities asking for donations. And at the government level, there are welfare systems to help people in need, like the work and income. They provide rent for the single mom with children. And there are free medical systems in New Zealand. It doesn't cost you anything to go to the hospital or receive medical care. When I had my injury 3 years ago, I had multiple MRI scans. I was treated in high dependency unit, and I went to the spinal recovery unit, and everything, it didn't cost me anything. But when I just did an MRI scan a few months ago in China, and cost me 2,000 RMBs. So where does all these come from? If you look into the history of New Zealand, I think you will find that it comes from the Bible. When Jesus was on earth, his work wasn't just about teaching and preaching the gospel. He was healing the sick everywhere he went. In Matthew chapter 4, verse 26, it says, News about him spread over Syria, and people brought him all who was ill with various diseases, those suffering from severe pain and demon-possessed, having seizures and paralyzed, and he healed them. And in Matthew chapter 8, verse 16 says, when evening came, many who were demon-possessed were brought to him, and he drove out the spirit with a word and healed all the sick. So the healing ministry was an integral part of Jesus' ministry. And Jesus often teach about helping the poor. In Luke chapter 12, verse 33 says, sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourself that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes near or no moth destroys. And if you look into the book of Acts and the book of Timothy, you found that early churches has established rules about their charitable works. So charity was an integral part of the early church. And the ministry of the modern church is really an extension and continuation of the ministry of the early church in the New Testament. And it was the teachings like love your neighbor or the Good Samaritan that continue to inspire many Christians to go out their way to help other people and fuel the charitable culture in New Zealand. But having said all that, I don't think many churches treat charity or community service as an essential part of the church function, but more like an accessory function, something that is good to have, but not essential. I said in the beginning, the church has 5 main functions: worship, fellowship, discipleship, mission, and ministry. And if you're going to prioritize these 5 functions, where would ministry be? I think it will often be put at the bottom of the list. Now, before I move on, I want to do a quick survey. With a show of hands, do you think ministry or charity or community service is an essential function or a non-essential function of the church? Put your hand up if you think it is essential. Put your hand up if you think it's non-essential. Now, Rick Warren, who wrote a famous book called The Purpose-Driven Life, he also wrote a book called The Purpose-Driven Church. And this is what he said about church ministry. Love your neighbor as yourself. The word we use to describe a purpose is ministry. The church exists to minister to people. Ministry is demonstrating God's love to others by meeting their needs and healing their hurts in the name of Jesus. Each time you reach out in love to others, you are ministering to them. The church is to minister to all kinds of needs: spiritual, emotional, relational, and physical. Jesus said that even a cup of cold water given in his name was considered as ministry and will not go unrewarded. The church is to equip the saints for the work of ministry. And unfortunately, very little actual ministry takes place in many churches. Instead, much of the time is taken up by meetings. Faithfulness is often defined in terms of attendance rather than service, and members just sit, sulk, and sour. I think church ministry is essential because it shows who we are and what we believe. If we Christians, all we do is having meetings and services, listening to the teachings, but never actually go out and do something, we risk being sit, sulk, and sour. Why it is important to have a ministry in community service? First of all, we are called to serve each other. In Mark chapter 10, it says, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." In Matthew chapter 25, it says, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Truly I tell you, whatever you did to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Because of who we are called by the Lord Jesus Christ. We are called to follow the example that Jesus has set for us. Secondly, when you are involved in community services, you give God the glory. You are witnessing for Christ. In Matthew chapter 5, it says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and give life to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. When you are involved in community services, you are representing God, you are representing Christ, and your good deeds will give God the glory. But witnessing is not proselyte. We are not trying to use community service as a way to convert people. Now, if you go to the website of World Vision New Zealand, this is what they say about their work. The question, do you try to convert people you're working with in development project? World Vision affirms and defends the right of all Christian and faith-based organizations, including our own staff and World Vision itself, to witness through their lives, words and deeds. Witness is not, however, the same thing as proselytism. World Vision defines proselytism as the use of aid as an inducement or source of coercion for religious conversion. World Vision believes that nobody should be coerced or manipulated into converting to Christianity. Accepting Christ must be a free decision based on consideration and judgment. World Vision condemns proselytism, does not tolerate its practice by staff. Christian witness is an essential and integral part of the mission of World Vision. Christian witness should never involve the use of pressure or inducement, but equally it is unethical and inappropriate to hide that Christian teaching that is the underlying motive of all of World Vision's work. So on the one hand, we're not trying to use charity work as a way to convert people, but on the other hand, we shouldn't be hiding our Christian identity when we are involved in community service. We believe that God loves them, and God teaches us to love your neighbors, and that is our motive of involving in community services. Thirdly, we are made in the image of God. So in the book of Genesis, it says, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Whether you're rich or poor, whether you're educated or uneducated, you have intrinsic value because you are made in the image of God. Therefore, you should have the basic rights of food and clothes and the place to live. And because you are made in the image of God, and God is merciful and loving, that is why you want to help other people, even if you're not a Christian. Recently, I was made aware of an organization called ARC. The ARC stands for the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. It's an international movement with a vision for a better world where empowered citizens take responsibilities and work together to bring flourishing and prosperity to their families, communities, and nations. So it's basically an organization about how to make the world a better place. They held conferences and invite speakers from many different areas to share their ideas about how to make the world a better place. Now, this year, they invited Ayaan Hirsi Ali to speak in their conference. Now, Ayaan Hirsi Ali is a writer, an activist, and a former politician. She was named on Times Magazine's 100 Most Influential People of 2005 and Reader's Digest European of the Year for 2005. Now, she was born in a Muslim family. She became an atheist in her 30s, but in 2023, she declared that she converted to Christianity. Now, I want to show you a clip of her speech in the 2025 ARC conference.
But I have one more point to add, and it's the most important point of all. The nation state also needs Christian morality. Or in the case of Israel, the morality of the Torah. In Europe, Christianity remains, despite decades of secularization, the crucial operating system of society. Without it, the apps don't work. When I came to Europe in 1992, fleeing a forced marriage that was part of a failed clan system, this was the type of nation state that I found. Wealthy, peaceful, stable, and optimistic, but still rooted in the Calvinist and Catholic traditions. I had left the chaos of Somalia and other African nations where I had lived, where tribal, ethnic, and religious conflict had made it impossible to develop a healthy nationalism. What I found in Holland was truly inspiring to me. I found the same inspiration when I first went to the United States. But in the past 16 or so years, I have seen on both sides of the Atlantic a sustained effort to drive Christianity to the margins of our society. I believe this gamble on secularism will go terribly wrong. It already has. Every successful nation has to be based on more than a constitution and a body of law. There must be transcendental stories that unites citizens to an ethical as well as legal code. For the West, that was the Judeo-Christian story of the Bible. The biblical understanding of human sinfulness inspired the concept of limited state power or rule of law, emphasizing checks and balances to prevent tyranny, Isaiah 33:22. Governments are seen as instruments to maintain order and justice, but not as ultimate authorities. The belief that all humans are created in God's image, Genesis 1:27, underpins ideas of equal worth, human rights, and dignity for all individuals, including the poor and the neglected. Biblical teachings such as love your neighbor as yourself, Leviticus 19:18, emphasizes care for others and fairness in governance. The Bible's distinction between God's sovereignty and earthly authority, Matthew 22:21, influenced the Western principle that the state should not overreach into matters of faith and conscience. Biblical ethics stress that rulers and citizens are accountable to a higher moral law, ensuring that government acts justly and protects the vulnerable, Romans 13:3-4. These principles collectively shaped Western values like democracy, human rights, and constitutional government. That is why my message to you today, and the message of Courage.media, is to stress that responsible citizenship in the West is inseparable from Christian morality. Please, let's aspire to build or restore the nation states on which our security depends. And let's ensure that they run as they used to on that Christian operating system, without which we can have no moral compass. Thank you.
I think he should point out something that's really important that has been happening in the last 10, 20 years in the Western world. They are trying to do humanity, trying to do charity without God. They are helping the wrong people for the wrong reasons. They are helping the illegal immigrants and the criminals. And as a result, the countries suffered. The US and the European countries have a huge problem with the illegal immigrants. And Ayan Hasi Ali made a very good illustration. Christianity is the operating system. And all the charitable works, all the humanity works, they are the applications. If you're trying to run the apps against our operating system, it simply doesn't work. And the concept that you are made in the image of God is unique to Christianity. You can't find it in Islam, not Buddhism, not atheism, not communism, or any culture or philosophy. And I think this concept is the foundation of all humanitarian works. Because they're made in the image of God, they have intrinsic value. So they should have basic human rights. And you should go out your way to help them. But if you're an atheist, you don't believe in absolute morality. then there's no reason for you to be charitable. Lastly, I want to share with you how you can do as an individual to help to do involve in community service. In Luke chapter 6, verse 38 says, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your laps. For the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Jesus not only encourages us to be generous, and he also promised blessing for those who give. And there are many, many ways that we can give to the world. Today, I have the pleasure to have Anne to share with her story. She was year 13 last year. She has a deep interest in birds, and she turned it into something really special. She gives free speeches in the library, and she ran a bird protection campaign in St. Hennigan College. She was accepted into Cornell University, into the US with full scholarship. And I heard her story, I was very inspired. So can I invite Anne to share her story with us? Can we give Anne a warm welcome?
All right. Hello. Hi. Okay. I'm Anne, and I'm kind of gonna talk about my testimony, my life with birds, and future. Okay. I used to think that birdwatching was just a quiet, solitary hobby where I could just step out into the wild, relax, and let the world move around me. However, over time, I realized that birds do more than just exist in silence. They migrate, they adapt, and they sing, sometimes loud enough for the entire forest to hear. This realization shaped not only my passion, but my entire journey to become who I am today. About to begin my next migration to Cornell University, my next adaptation to make America great again, and my next attempt my attempt right now to be loud enough for everyone to hear. I didn't think I would ever go down this route as in studying biology and then hopefully into ornithology in America. I was just a kid. I mean, like everyone else. At one point, I wanted to start a company called Blue Sea, and the sole reason for that was because my dad's company was called Greenfield, and if I couldn't win the war of not playing piano every Saturday morning, I had to rebel in some way or the other. Dream job number two, number one, according to the slide, is to become a school teacher. And that was because all of my teachers in primary school got Christmas presents every Christmas. And if you think about it, that's like 24 extra presents, right? So yeah, my first dream job was definitely not to be an ornithologist. In fact, I did not like hiking at all. I did not like tramping. I was never outside. I was in China. I would be inhaling all that dust and pollution Beijing had. But on a school trip, I was fascinated by birds. What started as a simple pair of binoculars soon turned into volunteering on conservation projects, founding the society at school, launching many projects, and along the way, I wasn't just learning about birds, I was learning about myself. But more importantly, I was learning how to trust God's plan, even when I had no idea where he was leading me. I mean, where do you usually go with weeding, trapping, bird banding? Not the ideal job, right? For a long time, birding was just a passion, and I wasn't sure how to translate that into something bigger, something beyond the impact of myself. That's when I realized I didn't have to always have all the answers. God already had them. I just needed to trust and follow his lead because, well, I'm standing here today and I ended up doing exactly what I wanted to. None of this happened overnight. I was hesitant. Public speaking, leading projects. I was more comfortable with birds than people. In fact, I did not like interacting with people. if left to my own devices, I would probably be in the bush birding, or right now I should probably be in bed watching YouTube of some sort. But God had other plans, and I took a leap of faith, and that faith changed everything. That's how Anne Going Birding turned into Birding with Anne, a project where I go into libraries and talk about, birds and just my passion with a crowd of all ages. My Dotterel Conservation Society became more than just a school club. It became a network that led to the only breeding pair of dotterels in our region. And when it came time to apply to university, I knew I needed a place that would not just support my interests, but also allow me to thrive in them. Cornell was that place, from all the research they had to all the resources published by its ornithology lab that helped me learn as I was on my birding journey. Cornell had already played a huge role in my journey, long before I even applied. The application process was not easy. I rewrote my essays probably 100 times, refined my personal statement day after day, and ensured that every part of my application reflected my journey in conservation and my love for birds. But more importantly, I learned that applying wasn't just about proving myself to a university. It was about discovering who I truly was. The application process was hard, like I said. I felt like I was either bragging or begging them, but what did I really want? I needed to remind myself that the reason why I was going to Cornell was not because it was some fancy Ivy League in the United States of America, but it was because they had the best bird lab. Cornell, not because it's Cornell, but because they have birds. So my focus shifted straight back to my little dinosaurs, aka birds, if you didn't know that they were just really cute dinos. It was after the submission that things got real. Like everyone else, I was scrolling through videos, posts, and everyone had SATs of probably full marks, 4.0 GPA, IB with 45, summer programs, competitions, scholarships, basically everything I did not have. The point is I spiraled pretty deep, doubts crept in, and I was like, there was no way I was gonna get in. The grades, the competition, the research papers, I had none of it. And what I had was not stereotypically IB worthy. But obviously I was proved wrong. Otherwise I wouldn't be here speaking to you guys, and probably would be packing in Australia at this point. So what really matters, and I can tell you it's definitely not the grades. Just ask the adults. I bet no one at work ever asked, what's your high school GPA? But what your boss will definitely ask you in the future is like, what hobbies you have? What have you done besides studying during your time? If there's one thing I tell you all through this journey now, if there's one thing I tell you all going through this journey now, is this. Your story is what makes you stand out. What matters is finding something you love, something you're willing to fight for, and as cliche as it sounds, letting that passion, and more importantly, God's calling, drive you forward. When the pressure gets hard and overwhelming, step outside, take a walk, watch the birds, because if there's anything they've taught me, is that no matter how long the journey, if you keep going, you'll find your way, because God will always lead you there. That's me. Cool.
Thank you. Can I invite Nigel to come forward? So we're going to have a quick question and answer session. We're going to I think we'll just sit here.
We're gonna sit.
Yeah. Yeah, just sit here. I think I was going to sit on a chair, but I think this looks more relaxed. Thanks for sharing your story. We're so proud of you when we heard that you are accepted into the Cornell University. When are you going? When are you heading to US?
So Cornell is like in a really rural area in New York State. It's like 4 hours from New York City. 6 hours? Yeah, from New York City. Yeah, so somewhere really remote.
Okay. And when are you going? August.
Yeah, August this year.
Okay. And I think you turned your interest in birds into a bird protection campaign in St. Killigan, and you were doing public speeches about birds in Highland Park Library. I think some of the students here, they may have a special interest, but they must thought that it is possible to turn it into a community service. Can you tell us how that happened? Like, where did you get the funding, and who do you have to contact to make it happen?
So I think if there's one thing I've learned all through my life is that there's so many opportunities lurking around, and you should really be just talking to people. If you're into conservation and sustainability, talk to me afterwards. If you're into I don't know, talk to your teachers, talk to anyone. How I started was I painted a mural for Auckland. I painted 4 murals for Auckland Council, and I wasn't originally gonna do it. It wasn't a part of my plan. I was gonna waste my entire Christmas holidays stuck in a garage painting, but it was taking out that opportunity that led to more connections, more people, and people I can actually speak to when I needed the funding. So Dodgeboro Conservation Society started with money I won from a Pissfree Howard's logo competition. That was $500, and I decided to put that through the school to start a
Okay.
conservation society.
Okay.
Oh, wrong thing.
Oh, yeah, so you basically just take the opportunity and gradually build it up into something even bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unlike the universities in New Zealand, to apply for a university in the US, good grades alone is not enough. They want to see what you're doing outside of the school curriculum. Why do they want to see these things? What are they looking for?
So I think they're looking at you as a person, like a overall assessment, rather than just your academic and intellectual abilities. Because I mean, let's face it, we're never gonna be ChatGPT or like DeepSeek in any of the knowledge we can ever contain. I mean, I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
So they look for leadership, what you've done, how you are, how you spend your time, and what are some of your passions, and do you use your passions to lead? Because I think they believe in passion-driven people
Okay.
who turn what they like into something they do, and that's always longer lasting, right?
And I want to spend a bit of time talking about the Duke of Edinburgh. And you have completed a gold level Duke of Ed, and you're now working as a Duke of Ed assessor. And Nigel, you actually run a Duke of Ed program. So Nigel, can you tell us about what is the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and what are they required to get the award?
The Duke of Edinburgh is an award designed for young people and to support your growth and to support you to find yourself. So that is a very important thing to make your daily life meaningful. Yeah, I want to ask whether is there anyone feel your daily life is boring? So I think when I was at your age, I think my life is very boring. Just learning, and test. And my mom just asked to get a good score, get a certificate, go to a good university. But they never care about who am I. They never care about that. But when I became a father, I want to change. I don't want my child, to have the same life as me. So I started to ask her to be yourself. So that is more important than your score, than your future career, than your university certificate. And someday I found that the Duke of Edinburgh, I think that is a very, very good process or program designed for young people to make their daily life meaningful. So I started to support my daughter to do the Duke of Edinburgh. And then the national office asked me, so hey Nigel, because the Chinese community, they don't do Duke of Edinburgh anymore, so would you like to support us to promote the Duke of Edinburgh in the Chinese community? So I established this business for the Duke of Edinburgh. Next page, please. Okay. So do I need to give more? So
it's okay.
You can keep the okay.
Oh, we're starting now.
Okay. The Duke of Edinburgh is started in 1956, and it was introduced to New Zealand in 1960. And Greenfield was licensed to do this in 2020, and just during the COVID. And after that, we got the first student in 2022 or 2021, and then he achieved his gold award in last year, 2024, and he is studying at UNSW for bioengineering now. So that is the background of the Duke of Edinburgh. And the why Christian values is, how to say, why the Duke of Edinburgh matches our Christian values. So I can share with you, for the Duke of Edinburgh, we have 3 levels, the bronze, the silver, and the gold. For each level, they have different requirements, but the sections are the same, but the time you need to take is a little bit different. So my English is not very good, so in case that you cannot understand me, just read the words I typed in the presentation, or you raise your hands and ask me questions. And I have an interpreter and my free labor to help me to translate.
Yeah. Speaking Chinese.
Yeah, and the first thing is serving with love. So that is very much to today's topic, with Jeff's topic. So the God told us each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others. So when you're serving others, you will feel you have meaning. I'm valuable. To at least to this guy, I'm valuable. I feed her, right? To your mom, when you get a good score, your mom is very happy, so you are valuable to make her happy. So that is your value. So when you help others, you will feel you are valuable. You will feel you are a real person. You are not just a role in your computer game. You know, you are touchable. So that is a real guy. So that is the first thing you need to do to serve and follow the God's words to serve others. And the second thing is to build your body, because our body is God's temple. So you need to have a healthy body. So last week I called an ambulance. So that is very sad. When I was in the hospital, I'm so weak. So I can do nothing. So the only thing is to pray. I can't rely on the doctors because they're so busy compared to other patients. So my case is nothing. So they don't care about me. So what I can do is what the only thing I can do is to pray. So when I'm praying, I think also I need to do some exercise to make my body stronger in the future when I get back home. So when you are young, so build your body, and not start to do some exercises when you were at my age. I'm 50, more than 50, too old to do something because my knee got some problem. Okay, so that is the second thing you need to do the exercises 1 hour per week. And then another thing you need to do is to learn some skills. To learn some skills to how to say, whatever you do, work at it with your heart.
讲中文。
OK， 好，我讲中文啊，可能他们觉得我说的中文太费劲了，说的英文太费劲了。还有一个就是你需要去学习一个什么 skill，whatever skill you like， 就是任何一个你想的 skill 都可以，包括 Bible study 也是 skill，OK， 然后或者你去学一个音乐，我想你们可能大家很多人都会音乐，对吧？像我的教会，我在另外一个教会。我们教会有 worship team， 但是每一次招人的时候，年轻人都不参与，然后老人家不会弹钢琴的要从头开始去学。其实你们学了钢琴，你们完全可以参与到 worship team， 其实这是你们去跟上帝建立关系的一个特别好的一个机会啊。然后这个家伙在学习的时候，他总是听 worship song， 这个是一个很奇怪的事情。他在我们的 family room 里面去做饭的时候，他天天听rock and roll 是吧？是叫 rock and roll， 天天听摇滚，弄得家里面特别特别的吵。但他一旦回到自己房间，他就开始放 worship song， 开始学习。啊，他把大家都弄得都快疯了，都很癫狂。OK， 好，然后这个是你要学做一个 skills， 你要学一个 skills。然后再有一件事呢，就是你要做这个 adventurous journey。这个呢，其实我也可以跟大家分享。我以前是个慕道友，我其实不是很相信上帝，我是学 engineering 的，我相信科学，啊，我相信我没有看见的东西我就不信啊。那么有一天我去 hiking。就在西区的那个叫 Mercy Bay， 那个是整个奥克兰最高的悬崖。然后我和我的洋人朋友，我们两个在 hiking， 在悬崖旁边，然后一阵妖风，然后我俩就吓得趴在地上。为什么呢？我们觉得我们就会被吹到悬崖下面去，就是 quite easy 就把我们吹到下面去了。然后这个时候我们才意识到我们自己是多么的无助。然后他是基督徒，他是在教会学校长大的，然后他就趴在地上开始祷告。然后从那个时刻开始，我觉得这个才是真正的上帝。我以前说我看不到上帝，那个时刻我好像我看到上帝了。然后过了一会儿，大概10分钟、5分钟、10分钟，风就住了，然后我们就又开始肆无忌惮的、放肆的在这个山里面去徒步了。所以我也希望所有的年轻人都能够到山里面去走一走，然后看到上帝的创造，然后也能够发现自己的不足。此时此刻 ，Jeff 的儿子正和我的团队在山里面走。啊，刚刚我看到他们的卫星定位，他们已经走到了山顶，他们把这个最难的事情已经做完了，后面就是要享受了。所以，我们还有一个 adventurous journey 需要做啊。然后等你到了高中，等你到了16岁以后，你进入到金奖，你需要去做一个叫 residential project。其实我觉得安，你可以分享一下你在 residential project 上的经历。我觉得这个 experience 对年轻人非常重要。
I'm gonna switch back to English, even though neither languages are working for me right now. For not my residential project. My residential project, I flew down to Stewart Island alone with my friend. Well, not alone then. With my friend to join a group of people, and we went hiking, camped out in Stewart Island for 6 days.
Your adventurous journey, I think that is more important, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Adventurous journey. I did Spirit of New Zealand. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, and that's a 10-day like sailing trip where you get on this sailing boat with 40 other people, roughly your age, and you guys no internet, no anything. You cook, you scrub the deck every morning, and you basically survive for 10 days. And I think it's possibly the most life-changing 10 days I've ever had. Every morning, I did not notice before I went, but every morning at 6, they would drag you out of bed, make you run around the deck like 10 times, and force you to jump into the ocean. So I did that for 10 days. First day I was like, oh no, this is gonna suck. I jumped in. I was the first to jump in. I don't know why. Jumped in. Got frozen. Climbed out. Chattering. My teeth were chattering. I was like so cold and so. I was like, I regret this. What is happening? But then the next day, I was like, oh, it's fine. And then eventually, by the 10 days, it was possibly some of the most enjoyable experiences I've had. Waking up at 6, looking out the deck, at the ocean, at the dolphins, it's really fun. More importantly than that was that I met 40 other youths around the whole of New Zealand, and being in, and I believe everyone is the same, we all grew up in a safe middle-class family where we have this bubble around us that's protecting us, and we don't really see the other side of the world. But that was a time where I did get to see the other side. You know, at school, social studies, you're always taught like, oh god, this is
Sorry.
good. There's the low income class. You know, there's people out there homeless. There's people born into unfortunate families, dysfunctional families. That used to just be words and statistics. I felt bad. I prayed for them. But that time on the boat, I was actually dealing with people who were drug addicts. You know, they vape, they smoke, they drink alcohol. They grew up in a family that does that. Their parents talk to each other, like talk to them was like, hey, I grow better weed than your dad. And the dad would go, hey, I grow better weed than your mom. It's not the most usual experience, but that was a time where I actually realized that there's so many places in the world that needs us, and we need to do our service to help them, because we are lucky that we have a stable family, and we are lucky that we found God, that He can lead us in the right direction. But those people were people who haven't. I had a friend, and he's really smart. We were talking about, I think we were doing calculations on how to find our location in the middle of the ocean from just looking at the sun. And that's a lot of I can't even remember, geometry, trigonometry, a lot of calculations. And we were doing that, and we were talking, and he suddenly turned to the side and started coughing out blood. And I was like, dude, what is wrong? Like, are you okay? And that was because he hasn't had drugs or vape for 10 days. That was probably 8 days. And honestly, he told me that was his chance to quit, and he was going to do it. And I thought, that is brave, because I don't think I would be able to quit drugs if I was that far deep. And they have this strength, and they've gone through things we haven't gone through. And I think Jukoved provides a great opportunity that opens your eye to these things that's just happening around you that you don't usually see. Yeah, and even just nature as well. Like Boas would be out there hiking. Is Audrey out there as well?
Not yet.
No?
No,
Okay.
no.
But when you're out hiking, you're not gonna have signal. You're not gonna be taking out your phone, going on Instagram or whatever app you go on all the time, right? You have to have your eyes out, otherwise you're gonna fall over. You're climbing these mountains and you can just notice the trees, the birds, even the dirt looks pretty sometimes. And then the rain comes down and you're like, oh, it's the shower I needed that I haven't had in 3 days because I've been out in the wild hiking and there's no bathroom to shower and clean my hair. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity.
Okay, I don't have anything to say. And the last thing, I just encourage you to join any group, any program that make your life meaningful. Okay, that's all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. I think this Duke of Ed program is such a good program because it pushes you to do community services, forces you to learn new skills, requires you to adventure journey. It can be 3 days, 4 days, 5 days into the bushes, and tramping like hours every day, and requires you to go out of your comfort zone, and at the end you got awarded with something that is recognized internationally. You can put it on your application for overseas universities and even on your job CVs one day. So I think it's really something that's really worthwhile for you to do as a student.
The Duke of Edinburgh has agreement with many big brand companies, and when they are looking for some new stuff, the Duke of Edinburgh is the first choice for them. So if you have any award when you apply for a job, that is a good benefit. And for some universities, and for her application for the American universities, you need to list 10 activities. And she lists the Duke of Edinburgh as her first activity because she is proud of what she has achieved. Unfortunately, she didn't get the gold signed off before she applied for the university, so she has to take it off, right? Did you?
No, you have 5 honors. So if you apply to US, you have 5 honors and 10 activities. The honors are honorable mentions, so that would be everyone else I was talking about with the Olympiads and competitions, and Jukoved was a part of mine. And also if you do Cambridge, NCA, IB Cambridge, if you do Cambridge,
get some credit.
Yeah, if you receive your Jukoved award at any level, you get credits.
Yeah.
or they bump your grades up or something? I don't know.
The Duke of Edinburgh can replace some credits unit for your study for the NCEA. And for some universities, if you are a Duke of Edinburgh holder, some courses you can, how to say, 就是你可以 waive, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have any question they want to ask when they're still here? No. Okay. Yeah. So they're going to stay behind after the service for a bit longer. So if you have any question about Duke of Edinburgh or about applying for university overseas or anything else, feel free to come to them after the service. Can we give them a round of applause for their time here? Thank you. Yeah, so that's all for me. I'll hand the time back to Isaac.
So Michelle will be sharing notices with us.
So that's our weekly notices. We can move to the next slide. So as you know, with pair free cell groups,